4 contestants enter, but only 1 leaves a champion. That's right, it's time for the one and only Project Nerd Game Show. Live from the Project Nerd Studios in StreamYard, it's The Last Word.
What is going on, everybody? It is so good to see you here today for our episode of Last Word. I am your host, Andy. We are doing a themed episode today where everything we're going to talk about is versus. So one thing versus another, and hopefully we've got some very strong, opinionated guests. I'm going to bring on our first very strong and super opinionated guest, Mia. Mia, welcome to the show today. Thanks for being here.
Hello.
And we're going to bring in our second guest now, someone you might have seen before on a couple of the episodes I've hosted. His name is Isaiah, goes by Select Screen. Isaiah, hello.
How we doing? What's up?
Good to talk with you. Our third contestant today is going to be none other than Gogo. Hello, Gogo. Good to see you today.
Hi. Happy to be back.
Okay. And last but not least, for sure, bringing in Jay. What's up, Jay? Welcome.
Woo! I'm here and I have thoughts.
He has thoughts. I have questions for you to get your thoughts. So let's get going with round one. All right. So round one and first question here. We're going to be talking about Microsoft versus the world. So last week, Microsoft spent almost $70 billion to buy disgraced game publisher Activision Blizzard and will now presumably launch Bobby Kotick into space once the deal has been finalized. This, however, positions Microsoft for world domination as it continues to gobble up big studios in its bid to make Game Pass and the Microsoft ecosystem bigger than ever. Is this good news? Is this bad news? Who you got, Microsoft or the world? And let's go first over to Mia.
I got Microsoft, but in my head, it's like, well, Disney's on the other end too, in a different sphere. And I feel like eventually the two of them will be the ones trying to reach for the ultimate monopoly. And so I am game to watch that unfold.
Look, I would take a Bob Iger versus Bill Gates death match any day of the week if you're asking me. So it sounds like we're on the way there too. Isaiah, what do you think about the big purchase there by Microsoft?
Yeah, as a gamer, I am super excited about this because I think it's really going to push the competition for Nintendo and Sony to really up their games. I'm really hoping Sony looks at possibly buying EA. EA was actually in the mix for Microsoft at one point in time as well. So I think it's going to kind of up the game a little bit. There's also talks of a revival of Guitar Hero, aka one of the greatest music games of all time. So I'm all for bringing that game back. Definitely Microsoft.
You know, Isaiah, I cannot wait to spend money on pointless plastic guitars that will 10 years from now be all over a landfill. Very excited for that. Yes. Good to talk about. Gogo, what do you think about the recent Microsoft buy?
Well, I know Jay said he has thoughts, and Isaiah gave us some smart words. I have feelings, and my feelings are valid. What I want to talk about is what an absolute wreckage Activision and Blizzard are, and they are a sinking ship. Of course, they got bought. I'm just like, 70 billion. Here's my thought. Is Microsoft just going to, again, shove whatever the guy's name is, Bob?
We don't have to even say his name. Who cares? He's a douche.
The guy. They fired 37 people who were implicated in all the abuse and the sexism. That's nothing. There's 10,000 employees. What are they going to do to make it a safe workplace? Because currently I'm not buying or playing any Blizzard because they suck. So hard for me to get excited about anything. And I will not give them any money unless Microsoft actually puts their actions to words, not just, okay, great, you bought it, what you gonna do with it? Also, question is, do you want tyrannical despots? Because this is how you get tyrannical despots. I mean, we've already got Disney, so do we really want another one?
Jay, what do you think? What do you got there?
I flip back and forth on this one a little bit because in just principle alone, I'm usually with Gogo on this. It's like, I think any one entity getting too big is a little scary. The whole Disney verse and the Thanos ring of power that they're building is a bit freaky. Mm-hmm. Now I am not as avid of a gamer as some of the others on here. So like with the disgrace that Blizzard wasn't too familiar with, I've heard inklings here and there. And I'm all for safe workplaces. So definitely support that point. Now, here's my final stance. If Isaiah is correct and Guitar Hero is coming back because of this Activision purchase, then I'm on Team Microsoft, unfortunately. I don't want to, but I want Guitar Hero in all of our lives again, because while those guitars may end up in landfills, the hearts that they inspire to play music, man, look up a girl named Yasmin Williams. And she started playing Guitar Hero, and now she's like a phenomenal like pick guitarist on NPR. It's unbelievable. So if Guitar Hero is coming back, I'm all for whatever is going to bring Guitar Hero back into the fold. So
here's the other thing.
That's where I have to land.
I totally agree with you, obviously, because you agreed with me and I'm right. But here's the other thing.
You're both losing a point for agreeing with one another. Continue.
The scumbag guy, they've already kind of hinted at, soon as Microsoft officially takes over, they're going to get rid of him. I think this was the best thing Activision could do.
That's the smallest amount. That's like, oh, we got rid of that CEO. We know this is going to happen, even though he says he's hanging on. But this is a top-down problem. Fine, you get rid of the CEO. What's next?
I think it's, unfortunately, we're going to have to probably wait and see a little bit, right? Because they are talking about how they are going to get rid of him. But, to your point, Gogo, they've got to actually go out and do stuff to make this a better place to work and a better place to be. Now, based off of Microsoft last 2 or 3 years, I think it's definitely possible. And I think it's actually likely that Microsoft really digs in and tries to turn around that culture. But until we see it happen, it's going to be tough to say whether people are going to get behind them purchasing a studio with such a negative past. Mia, give us a last word on this. You think it's possible that Microsoft can move past this debacle with Activision and kind of get their work environment to where everyone's going to feel safe being there and it's going to be a good place to work again?
Only if the employees and management follow, because you could put all the rules in place, but what's actually going to happen in the workplace? That is heavily reliant on how the employees and management work with each other.
Yep. Comment from Facebook. Microsoft's made an inclusivity a pillar in their mission, and I feel they'll not Band-Aid but revive the workplace. We'll just have to wait till 2023. I completely agree with that.
A buyout will help with that. You can sweep an entire group of problematic tendencies if their new overlords take over. So, to Gogo's point, I hope they do it right. Like if there's a bunch of Band-Aids, I'm not going to be cool with that either.
Let the workers unionize. Yep. They've already started a mini little union. Let it happen. Bring in new management, upper management in there from the people who have formed an inclusive, intersectional, safe for all union.
Microsoft has been a champion for better causes for the last few years, and it's really good to see them actually. I'm excited that they're the ones that got this company under their wing, because I do feel like they're the best positioned to make things better long term. Yep. And you're right, unions are already forming, so they might not have a choice. They might be dealing with a bunch of unions anyway. So okay, well, let's get to question 2 here. So the age-old, and by that I mean like a little more than a decade, debate between Marvel and DC is still going. And while I think most people would say Marvel is still far and away the champ, DC has been making some solid moves, right, by adding in more diverse representation of characters in their shows and movies. They just recently cast Ivory Aquino as the most recent in Batgirl, which is an exciting casting choice there. So while we all might agree that Marvel is kind of the big boy on the block right now, does DC have a long-term shot to catch up now that we're in the post-Avengers era of Marvel? And let's go ahead and start with Gogo on this one. What do you think, Gogo?
Oh, my goodness. Okay. How much time do I have? I think where Marvel has gotten so far ahead is that they've, under the guidance of Kevin Feige, they have had this very long-term scope, this long-term brand. We kind of know what we're going to get, and even within that world, we're going to get, a little bit more comedy if Taika Waititi or James Gunn is helming it, etc. I feel like DC, and this breaks my heart to say, has not had that overarching vision. There is no visionary kind of bringing in disparate elements into one solid overarching brand, except that it's DC. I think they've been doing fun things with their TV shows. And so, yes, that's exciting. But, the movies have been painful. And I say this as
Zack Snyder would disagree, Gogo.
I don't care.
He would be wrong.
Jay, what do you got? Jay, what do you got? What do you got on this? Is there any chance that DC, where the post Marvel, post Avengers era, can catch up?
Yes, but it has to be done in a very specific way. So Marvel owns the blockbuster. Let's all as a world just agree, like they did an unbelievably spectacular thing getting to Infinity Wars with all 30 movies and decades of films. Like they figured out the formula for their characters and blockbusters.
Mm-hmm.
But we are living in a very COVID isolation stream worthy world, and DC has the ability to explore like Marvel doesn't. Marvel has a formula that they try to get too far outside of it. People are like, boo, let's burn Feige's house down. But DC has been doing, like, they get like dark animated movies on HBO. You get like weird Peacekeeper spinoff shows. You have like hilariously well written Brendan Fraser led spinoff shows that very few people have heard of. Like DC has a plethora of very amazing villains to explore, a lot of dark themes to explore, and that's what they need to do. They can win, but it has to be on the wealth of exploring what can be done with the superhero genre and not just being like, we're going to make $100 billion on this movie, because they won't, and they can't compete like that.
Marvel has done so well for so long in their big blockbuster films that they actually are it's harder for them to take a risk, where DC is kind of swinging for the fences every time, hoping that they can take down Marvel a peg. So it kind of gives them that creative freedom to kind of do what they want to do, right? And I've been one that has often pushed that the Marvel last like third of every Marvel movie is kind of getting a little tropey, right? And I want to see more from them, right, as far as how their movies end. And I think we're getting that with their TV shows now. We're getting that with more of their streaming services. But you're right, DC can definitely take a little bit more risk there. Isaiah, what do you think about this?
I'm a huge Marvel fan. But I'm seeing kinks in the armor. I would definitely say that Eternals was a big misstep that can definitely set them back, as well as their animated series have been absolutely terrible. DC's, on the other hand, have been really great. Of course, their movies haven't been good. What DC needs to do to catch up, and I'm giving a full conclusion on how they can catch up here, and that is through communication. One thing DC does a lot better than Marvel is DC fandom. Fandom was way better in explaining what movies are coming up next, what's the plan, like Marvel used to. Marvel used to kind of lay out their slates and everything, but DC is on the rise in that, because they're setting forth, hey, look, the Batman is coming, and it got everybody hyped up. Suicide Squad.
Let me clarify with you, Isaiah, because Disney does do D23, and so they do talk about their lineups. Do you think there's a difference between the way Disney does it and the way the WB does it?
They do, but they're held back by the mouse.
Okay.
And I say that because you get a deeper dive. Look at what happened with Black Adam. The Rock literally said, here is my movie. Bam. He pitched it himself. That star power really allows DC to kind of grasp. And yes, it's really been chaotic. What they need is James Gunn to take over the whole thing.
Mia, I'm going to get to you in just 1 second, but Gogo is super.
Yeah, she's waiting.
Gogo, go ahead. Get
okay,
yourself
I
in
feel
there,
like what other people have said so far has basically been a reiteration or just expanding slightly on what I said. I love DC. The question was, can they catch up to Marvel? Now, we're talking about the Marvel blockbusters in this sense, I think, not just because that's it. Otherwise, if we're like, can they catch up to Marvel TV shows? DC is already there. But I just want to say that Isaiah basically said exactly what I said first.
I disagree. I disagree because, hang on, let me rebuttal that.
Go ahead, Isaiah.
Because you didn't give a solid answer on how. Again, can DC? Absolutely. Marvel could put out 6 stinking movies that are terrible, but how can DC do it? It's not just like, hey, we're DC, boom, we're back at it. You got to give a reason why. So I went into
depth. I would argue that the best thing about what DC can do right now is that they can provide a bunch of different directors to give a bunch of different visions on a bunch of the same characters. I would love to watch 15 different Batman movie with all kinds of different directors and all of the different Batman that exists, because
none of them should relate to each other.
They should not all relate. Completely
and they
agree.
Don't.
Mia, what? Yeah, and they won't. Mia, what do you think about this one?
I think the pros of Marvel is they have patience. They're willing to map it out, take their time. You know, if they have to redo or sprinkle a couple of things here and there, they're going to do it. I do agree that there's because they have the map out, things eventually become slightly more predictable. And so now they're kind of a little bit okay, now that things are getting predictable, let's see what we can shift. I think they try to do that with Eternals, but people weren't ready. And that's why the response to Eternals was more on the negative side of the spectrum. I personally loved it. But what I'm
with you. Point for me for liking Eternals.
What I think DC could do that Marvel won't do, and that Disney has only stepped a foot into doing, is actually presenting villain characters as their own films and allowing the superheroes to come in. I think if DC went that route and just embraced the darkness that it's known for, that we could get some truly incredible films. Because yes, the TV shows and the animated films are all spectacular from DC. I think they are above Marvel in that arena, but I think the only way to combat the gold and red colors of Marvel is to embrace the blue and black of the villain side of Disney. That's
bring back that Nolan verse grimdark DC that was everything. I agree.
As long as they keep Christian Bale's voice out of it, I'm good for that.
The fact that they're basing the Riddler in the Batman off the Zodiac just gives me goosebumps.
Yes, I'm very excited. I cannot wait for that movie. I think Robert Pattinson is going to be killer as Batman.
So do I.
And I think it's going to be. I mean, DC can afford some misses, but they got to take some big swings. Mia, to your point, I'd love to watch it's like a Scarecrow movie, like a trip down his crazy path to how he makes everyone go insane. That would be really, really cool to see. Now, Marvel could have an answer of their own coming out soon. We got Moon Knight, potentially a violent show from them. We don't really know what that's going to be rated yet. There's rumors that Deadpool's going to be rated R. So Marvel could be coming on strong with their own darker take on some of these Marvel stories too. And we'll see how that plays out over the course of the next year or two, kind of as we move forward into phase 4, phase 5, and what DC is going to bring. Isaiah, last word for us on this Marvel versus DC debate.
Yeah, ultimately, it comes down to communication. If they can communicate to the audience, hey, you guys like Marvel movies, that's great, but check out what we have. I think that's really what's going to set them apart because they have their own specific brand, and people really, really love Batman. If they keep digging in that well, I think they're going to do well.
Yep. Batman is their moneymaker, and I'll take a multiverse with Batman stuff all day, any day. Okay, well, let's see what we've got here for our scoring. So at the end of round 1, Joey, you have 6, Mia has 6, Isaiah has 5, and Gogo has 7. That means, Isaiah, you have been eliminated in the first round. I think this is your first round exits.
Man,
so say goodbye. Strong performance. Thanks for being here, hang around in case we need you later in the show. Okay, bye, Isaiah.
Bye.
Let's get him out of here, and let's see what round 2 has for us. All right, we are in now with round 2 of our Versus episode, and it wouldn't be a Versus episode if we did not talk about fighting franchises. Right, we're going to debate now. Does Mortal Kombat take the title for best fighting franchise of your life, or did you grow up with Street Fighter instead? Or are you one of those people that would randomly talk about a different, like Tekken maybe or something like that? Who you got in the fight game universe? Let's go with Jay first.
For me, 100%. It was Mortal Kombat from the day of the beginnings to now. I don't have anything necessarily against Street Fighter. But I'm a horror nut. I'm a gore hound. I enjoy the real life animation of the Mortal Kombat. And honestly, when I was in elementary school, I used to draw Mortal Kombat characters and sell them for nickels to my class. So Mortal Kombat was the basis of my first legitimate business.
+1 for entrepreneurship, but -1 for selling kids pictures of violence. Mia, go ahead. What do you got on this debate?
Actually,
Fair.
I'm one of the people who's off to the left or right with this because I like the verses. Marvel versus Capcom, Tatsunoko versus Capcom. I love the verses. The verses is where I live. So, I mean, if I have to pick between the two, then I will also go Mortal Kombat because that's the nostalgia for me personally. But the cream of the crop is the verses. That's where I'm at.
All right, Gogo, what do you think about this one?
I was totally going to say Marvel versus Capcom forever.
Nice.
It's just so good, and the combos of characters you can put together, it's hilarious. And there's so many different strategies to just absolutely lay waste to whoever's playing with you. So I love that. Plus the nostalgia of just, again, you get Street Fighter in there. And I was going to say Street Fighter because I think, and I say this as a super leftist feminist, Street Fighter has the best babes, and babes are important to me.
You know what?
And I want to say I wasn't allowed to play Mortal Kombat when I was a kid, so.
Again, subjective, but hey, Chun-Li, Sea Viper, Cammy, Poison.
No,
I'll say I did have a crush on Cammy early on.
I break the rules often in this show, and I'm going to go ahead and break the rules again. And Isaiah, you're going to decide which one is the best argument here because you are a fight game expert here. So, Isaiah, I'm going to bring you back in here. Hopefully, you're paying attention. What do you think is the best franchise?
Mortal Kombat has the best babes ever. Katana, Frost, Melina. Mortal Kombat is the greatest fighter of all time.
Okay, well, let's get you. Thank you, Isaiah. I knew you would say Mortal Kombat, but you were just you were going crazy over there. You had to talk about it a little bit. Thanks for coming back to do that. Now, I would agree with the Street Fighter sentiment again because I was not allowed to play Mortal Kombat as a kid. But Isaiah has ruled, and so after the first question in this round, Joey, you're at 9, Mia 8, and Gogo at 8. So it's very close here as we go into this next question. All right, so next question in round 2, space battle time. So Star Wars has always been the powerhouse mainstream sci-fi, but Star Trek is what I felt has always been nipping at its heels, and it's always kind of been right there with Star Wars, despite what the general public might think. Now, myself, I grew up watching both, but I always gravitated towards Next Generation, as there was a ton of stories being told that were different and that were just things that I was more interested in at the time when I was growing up, right? And I only had 3 Star Wars movies to watch. There's no Disney Plus at that time. So fast forward to now, we've got a very large and diverse range of both Star Wars and Star Trek franchises. And one could argue that Star Trek has positioned itself better for the streaming wars and has already diversified their offerings to include cartoons, spin-off shows that are actually considered what I would say better, right, than some of the Star Wars stuff that they have as far as their secondary content. And Star Wars really struggling after the whole Last Skywalker debacle. Now we're seeing more coming back in with Mandalorian and Boba Fett. Thank you, Jon Favreau. But while those shows are good, is that enough now to keep Star Wars on top? Or do you think Star Trek has a chance to kind of become more prominent in the mainstream with how the Star Wars have struggled? Let's start with Gogo.
Oh boy, I get something I'm crazy passionate about. Let's go. Don't cut me off this time, please. No, I'm just kidding. It's your show. You can cut me off whenever.
+1 for I'm scared of you. So do that.
Okay.
Fair. Harsh, but
Star
fair.
Wars. I'm gonna be frank. Star Wars is my favorite of the two. It's just what resonated with me as a kid. Also, Princess Leia. But I believe that Star Trek is the better. It's the better franchise. It's the better all over. I mean, they were leaps and bounds ahead of its time in terms of diversity and inclusion of strong women characters. I think that Star Wars is a cult. It has a cult following. I mean, nobody hates Star Wars more than Star Wars fans. And you give
what a line.
Yeah, we get again. Favreau gives us the Mandalorian. We love it. He and Filoni give us Boba Fett, and we're like, there's kids on scooters. It's trash. I think Star Trek also has much longer term consistency, and again, female captains. I would love to see Star Trek has better consistency. I would love for Star Trek to get that supremacy that they deserve. And I say this as literally I am old enough to have seen A New Hope in the theater when I was 3. And it made such an impact on me. And I was like, I'm going to be a Jedi. And guess what? I am a Jedi.
You are, in fact, a Jedi. We're so glad that you're here today instead of out saving the universe. Jay, what do you think about the Star Wars, Star Trek debate? Is it even a debate?
This one's tough for me. It's not even a debate in my household. Like, we're a Star Wars household. And it's not any reason, again, I don't have anything against Star Trek. It was more that Star Wars resonated with me. I grew up with it. I had the toys, as opposed to enjoying the wealth of information that the Star Trek universe had between the shows and the movies and everything. I just dove super deep down into Star Wars. Like, at one point in my life, you could pause the cantina scene and I could give you the names of all the characters. Like, I knew Star Wars. I had toys set up in vignettes around my childhood bedroom. So without question, I am a Star Wars kid to my core. Heart on my sleeve forever.
The Star Trek have a chance? Yeah, here we go.
Having said that, the machinations, like the socio-political elements, the structure, the consistency, and the expansiveness of what Star Trek has been able to do, in my mind, is more mechanically impressive. I get more passionate about Star Wars. So the Star Wars universe, and that's why I love the Filoni and the Favreau stuff so much, is because it felt like, honestly, them playing catch up with Star Trek to say, hey, let's actually take the worlds that exist and just go deeper in them. And that, I feel like, is what they need to be able to do. I'm loving the new kind of expanded universe, but I'm a Star Wars kid at heart and always will be.
Well, I've already signed up for the Space Vespa, so I'm pretty excited whenever those get delivered.
Exactly.
You brought up a point too, though, is that I think Star Wars is more kid accessible right now, right? I think it's easier for someone to just turn on New Hope as a 3, 4, 5-year-old and kind of get what's going on and kind of feel that versus putting on the first Star Trek movie that's not for kids. Like, it's not a kids movie and it's not supposed to be either, right? So I think that's kind of gives the leg up to Star Wars. Mia, what do you think on this here? What's your thoughts?
I'm a Star Wars person myself, but I happen to agree with Gogo here that, Star Wars has the passion and it's got the toxic fan base and it's got, a lot of love behind it. But I also think that the only reason why Star Wars stays above Star Trek is because they're able to, what's that word? They're appeal to children. Is that they're able to do that. And Star Trek has been on the, we're going to sit with the adult audience and build off of that for forever now. And they've been able to do it incredibly. I think Star Trek has a chance, which is ultimately what the question is, if they're able to reach into a more child-loving market. If they're able to do that, I think they will be neck and neck just with Star Wars, no problem. I think that's the only
Star
thing
Trek
that's
Caravan of Courage.
Oh my God, that actually sounds incredible.
And they need.
I was going to say, have any of you watched the new Prodigy show, Star Trek Prodigy?
Not yet.
Is that the animated one that's like Rick and Morty?
It's with Jane. No, Lower Decks is the Rick and Morty one. Prodigy is the one with Captain Janeway, and it's actually voiced by Catherine what's her last Milgrew? I don't know. I'm not doing her justice. But she does like the main voice, and she is Captain Janeway in the show. Yeah. And apparently, it's an awesome kids version of what Star Trek can be. But go ahead. Sorry to interrupt.
Oh, I that's good to know. I'm totally going to check that out. This is the other thing we talked about, just how Star Wars resonated with us. There's also not just that it's accessible to young people and to children, but the marketability. I mean, I had to have that lightsaber. I had to have that Millennium Falcon. What did I get from Star Trek? A blue shirt and a tribble? Like, where's the toys? Where's the collectibles? Where's the underoos? Where's...
As someone who spent way too much at Galaxy's Edge, I could not agree with you more. That's like yeah, totally agree. Like, I'm not like going out there trying to buy comms badges for all the Star Trek characters, but I want every damn lightsaber that exists. So okay, well that's it. Weapon. They do it, but they got the phaser, but then it's not really iconic enough, I don't think, right? Okay, well, so through our second round, Joey, looks like you've got 13. Mia, you're at 12, and Gogo, you are at 13 also. So Mia, that means that you have been eliminated. Say goodbye to everybody. Hang around. We'll bring you back in towards the end of the show. We got one question left. Let's get into round 3. And we clearly saved our most serious question for last here. Now, this is a versus show, so we want to make sure that you guys know that you're going head to head here. In our final question, keep it short and sweet. What is your go-to gaming, movie, TV snack? And why is that better than anything else that you can have? Gogo, why don't you go first?
Is this an all ages show?
Yeah, it's like PG-13-ish.
Okay, I'm gonna just booze. Booze is my go-to.
Okay, sure. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's fine. That's allowed. Kids know what alcohol is.
Okay. So do drink responsibly. Of course, 21 and up. But I like, also part of my day job is my husband and I are distillers. We own a distillery. So I like to make a cocktail that sets the mood. So again, if I'm going to play Marvel versus Capcom, I need something I can like sip real quick. I want it to be fruity. I want it to have some sugar in it. I want it to be like, yeah, I'm kicking ass. This is great. This is great. If it's a movie, then it might be like something that you really just sip into, like a bourbon milk punch with a little bit of nutmeg, a little bit of cinnamon. And then, of course, there's always wine. It's always, and hey, rosé all day. But it's booze. Need I say more?
All right, Jay, what do you think? Can you argue with alcohol?
I mean, mine is popcorn with Reese's Pieces and popcorn pretzels in it. You know, a little salty, a little sweet. You can crunch all day. You're happy. You don't need both hands. It's a good one.
All right. Well, you know, unfortunately for Gogo, I don't drink really. So I'm going to have to select the popcorn and peanut Reese's Pieces, whatever it is you said there. That sounds more appealing to me.
Popcorn is wonderful. And that's also one of my go-tos. I just tried to go with something that wasn't as obvious. And also, Andrew, I will make you an incredible mocktail anytime you'd like.
Accept 100%. I'm very much looking forward to that. Thank you, Gogo, for being here today. We'll bring you back in here just a second. Let's get our winner on here by himself, and we'll get you 30 seconds here right after this little clip here.
All right. Well, that clip was fantastic. Thank you so much. I deserve this. I won this fair and square. And really the thing I want to plug is we have a brand new season of High Five: the podcast coming up in 2022. Mia, who you saw in this episode, is also on that podcast. We're talking things like Betty White. We're talking things like Batman's. We're talking things like animated movies. Trust me, you want to get on this new season, and we might even have some video content coming out later this year. So that's my big push, is 2022 season High Five: the podcast. Go subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.
We kind of say goodbye today. Thank you all for being here. We appreciate it. Isaiah, Gogo, anything you want to plug real quick, Isaiah?
Yeah, check us out, linktr.ee/select screen. Video games, movies, reviews, it's all there.
All right, Gogo, what do you got? Anything you want to plug?
Yep, come find me on Instagram. Then you can see all the other stuff I do. Like I have a D&D teach you how to play different RPG show, and you can find that by going to my Instagram. Also, I look real cute in cosplay, and I got a lot of cosplay. I'm also a Sirius XM radio host. You can find information about my show. I am Gogo Incognito, and that was how you'll find me on Instagram, Gogo_Incognito, or just go to any browser, type in Gogo Incognito, you'll find moi.
All right, Mia, what do you want to plug? Anything quick?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram as well at the Every Model. I have my modeling stuff up there. I have classes coming up on there, and I also have high five stuff posted as well, specifically on my stories, as well as hilarious hashtags from each episode to help everybody guess what we recorded that day.
Awesome. Well, thank you all for being here today. We will see you guys in 2 weeks. I will be back with another episode. Have a great night. Thank you all for being here. We love you. Microsoft, clean up Activision. All right. Bye.